Hello everyone, my name is Alyan and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Roy. It's a pleasure to introduce Roy, a podcasting coach with an extraordinary portfolio of five podcasts covering a wide array of topics from personal growth and medicine to language learning and cryptocurrency. Okay, so hello, Mr. Roy, how are you?
I'm very good, Alyan. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
That's great. I am very thankful to you for giving me your valuable time for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so before moving on a question, can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Irish. I'm originally from a city called Cork, which is in the south of Ireland. It's the second biggest city. Dublin would have been population wise the biggest city. And 16 years ago, I moved to Poland. So I'm in a place called Łódź, which is right in the center of Poland. I studied construction economics. I worked in construction in Ireland for a mechanical and electrical contractor. And when I went to Poland, I don't know, about 15 different companies and real estate and everything. And now I'm doing a lot on podcasting, podcast coaching.
Great, sir. Very nice. Okay, so Mr. Roy, can you share the story of how you ventured into podcasting and what inspired you to create a five district podcast?
So I when I was working in Poland, I went to an event. There was a crash in America all over the world, so everybody lost everything, and so did I. I lost all my properties and everything. And when I went to an event in I think it was Mexico, in Cancun in Mexico for Mind Valley, it was called "What's Your Quest?" And I remember thinking, what is my mission in life? I think we all have a mission, like uh, Rohan Alawala, that's actually helping all of you. He's got a mission in life, and I think we all have a mission. And at that stage, I realized I have a mission to help people realize the fraud and corruption that's going on in the world and how to stop it. And also at the same event, there was very good speakers, and I did not like public speaking. I actually really hated it. I was something I would just say I can't do that. So when I came back from the event, I joined a Toastmasters club. And then I joined another Toastmasters club. Then I founded another Toastmasters club. I became a coach. I entered competitions. I read loads of books, how to become a better speaker. Read Kennedy, read TEDx books, watched TEDx videos, started entering competitions, and done very well. Got into the top of 5 countries, done a TEDx open mic, done open comedy, and then I went to another event, and it was how to do podcasting. It was like a workshop for 5 hours. And I never even thought about doing that. I listened to podcasts, but never thought of doing it. And I was like, oh, I can do this. This doesn't sound too hard. And this is a great way for me to get my message out. So the first one was about, I said, I'll do speaking first because one, because of my journey with Toastmasters, I knew so many speakers around the world. And with the other one, kind of awakening, exposing stuff, I thought maybe I might be, attacked for that I better be careful and I need to learn how to be good at podcasting. So the first one was the speaking podcast, and I've interviewed people from over 30 countries, and like I've done over 250 interviews at this stage now, where there's people talking about their speaking journey, their how they've overcome their fear of public speaking, tips on stage. And you would think after doing maybe 50 you'd have enough, but every time there's somebody comes on, they teach me something new, which is incredible. It just shows there's so much to learn in public speaking. And the one thing that I would say is fairly common with a lot of the guests, and I think it's international, is a lot of the times people have a fear of public speaking because of the schools, the way the schools actually embarrass them. They might get the kids to stand up in class and get them to speak in front of everybody else, and they're nervous. So I would say that to make sure that people kind of stick together, don't allow that to happen. And if they do it at an earlier age, like because my youngest child, he's 9 now, they do a lot of plays, they do a lot, and they're not afraid. So the school has, encouraged them to stand up and talk, do magic, do a play in front of everybody without being nervous. Not every school does that, and sometimes they go around the class, they make you read. People get nervous, and I think then we think we're bad at public speaking because of that experience. So I think a lot of people have done that. So that was the speaking podcast. The next one was the meditation. So when I went through the different journeys of losing everything, meditation helped me. So it was like a 6 phase meditation where you're actually learning what you're grateful for, forgiving, and just thinking your day, what you plan for today, what you plan for the year. And it's amazing how you make a plan in life that you have a better chance of achieving just than instead of just waking up and chugging through life. So if you think, I want to do this, you have a better chance of doing this. So when I was at all these different events, I knew a load of people around the world that were either yoga instructors, they all done meditation, there was breath work, sound meditation. So I interview all these different people. I've got all different meditations from 1 minute up to over 2 hours. Because a lot of people say, I don't have time to meditate. And the reality is, we all have time. Sometimes it's just a case of take a breath, relax. If you've an exam, don't be stressed, just take a breath and then you relax and then you might do better instead of panicking. And so that was the next one. Then the one after that was to learn Polish. So I wanted to improve my Polish when I was in Poland. And I said, okay, I'm going to start listening to Polish podcasts, but they were scripted, which means that it was all read out what they were going to talk about, or else they were only in Polish. And I don't know about you, but I think that's not an easy way of learning a language. So I created what I wanted. So it's like 5 to 10 minutes in a fun way. And basically, like the teacher, and I'm the student, and we put up a graphic and we just talk about different topics, whether it's about cars, mechanic changing your tire, going to the dentist, every single everyday topic. But what my purpose was, in school, we tend to have to know the grammar, the tenses, and everything. But the reality is, if you want to go to a country, the main thing is that you can talk. You can go into a shop and you can talk to them. You can go to anywhere and have a conversation at least. So I think that's the most important thing. And then you start enjoying it. So once you can talk, then you can start practicing your writing and you can start practicing your reading. And that's been very successful. It's been number one in a load of countries. And the next one then was the main one is called The Awakening. So that's the one that's exposing fraud and corruption. And I've interviewed really famous people on that. And I also got a lot of censorship because people they don't want me sharing that information. So I had a YouTube channel with The Awakening and it was removed. I was on LinkedIn and I got a strike for a week. On Linktree, they removed 3 of my channels. But like sometimes in life, when things like that happen us, we can start complaining and go, oh, poor me, look what's happened. They've took my channel off. But I didn't. I took a screenshot and I shared that everywhere. And people kind of was realizing, hey, there is corruption going on. What's going on here? So I went from the top 1% to the top 0.5%. So sometimes use things that happen to you for your advantage instead of thinking poor me, because when you say poor me, who cares? So you have to try to use it to your advantage. And the next one then is the crypto podcast. So there's a lot of, most people know about Bitcoin and all the different cryptos, but there's a big lot of fraud in that as well. There's a load of people creating a coin, people investing it, their hard-earned money, and then it disappears. And you have the people that created it, they're multimillionaires overnight, and the rest of the people, all their life savings are gone. And I wanted to actually expose that, but also good practices and different things and how to learn about blockchain technology. And I didn't want to put it into The Awakening because not everybody likes the crypto. So I didn't want to lose my audience. So that's why I created a separate one. And that's why I've got the 5 different podcasts.
Wonderful, sir. Really amazing. Okay, sir. So your podcast cover a diverse range of topics from speaking to cryptocurrency. What drives your passion to such as varied subjects?
So, I think the main thing is, say, the speaking. I knew how painful it was for me to speak in public. So I'll explain how shy I was. When I was younger, I wouldn't go into the shop. I used to give my friend the money to go to the shop. So even in business meetings, when it was going around the room to speak, I was representing one big company. My voice just go. And I just want to share that with other people, because if you want to make change in the world, just like Rohan is doing with all of you, you're learning from people around the world, and you don't realize at such a young age that I'm very impressed with what you're doing. But it's brilliant because this is going to serve you. And without, fairing it, and then you're learning from other people. But also, no matter what you do in life, you can step up in a room and speak. And so many people, whether they're trying to get a promotion in a job or anything, do a presentation in a school, you don't fear it no more. So you can. My purpose was to show, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So that was kind of the main thing for that. And like I kind of mentioned about the other ones, what the reason for all of them.
That's great, sir. Okay, so as a podcasting coach, what are some common challenges aspiring podcaster face, and how do you help them overcome this obstacle?
So you've got fantastic questions. So a lot of the time, people fear technology, and they think to be a podcaster, you need to be brilliant at computers, you need to really understand editing and everything. And I'm not like that. So all I say is not to fear it. It's just a system. So when you are doing your podcasting, you just create the podcast that you want. You think. So I take them through a whole process about what their niche is. So as you see, my niches were speaking, and I make sure the domain name is suitable for that, because I think that helps you in the algorithms. Because like 4 of my podcasts have been in the top 0.5%, and the cryptos in the 1.5%. I think the names definitely help, because when people are doing a search. So that's one thing that I take people through to make sure. Like sometimes people want a quirky name, they want a funny name, or they want something, but nobody will ever search that. And I try to make sure that you're thinking of marketing from the very start. Like when you have a hard name, people won't remember it. Like everyone remembers the speaking podcast or the crypto podcast. It's so simple, and it's podcast, learn Polish podcast. So I've done that intentionally to make it easy for people to, hey, tell their friends, hey, you should listen to this episode. So when I'm talking to the clients, I tell them the same. Also, I'll explain mistakes I've made. So with the Polish podcast, I was never expecting that to be kind of popular. I'd done it for myself to help me improve myself and maybe help others. So when I done it first, I had a really poor graphic. I took a picture of me and the teacher just standing next to each other, and I got a really poor design. And it was number one in a load of countries. And I have screenshots of it being number one with a really poor. So then later I invested in really good pictures, very good graphics, and all of my podcasts. I mean, I like to. I've even now taken more professional pictures because I want it updated as well. Because I started 5 years ago, so you don't want to have a picture where you're looking way younger, and then they come on a podcast and they're going, "What happened, you?" So you want to kind of have it fairly updated, the podcast picture that you're doing. And the way I tell people is, when you go into the Apple Store or Spotify and you see all the graphics, what grabs your attention? And your podcast should do that as well. So sometimes people just have the picture and nothing else, and this maybe sometimes it's a photograph. So for example, the meditation podcast, I don't have my picture on that. I have like a yellow and black with meditation, because that grabs your attention. And so that's one of the things that I take them through. And then I tell people, like, some people are, they like to be hand held by the hand and go slowly because they panic if they have to do too many things, and that's okay. So I can take them over 2 months, do the whole process just slowly, call a week or whatever, and just at their pace. Let's do this. And then they feel, okay, this is how you edit. And I take them through the whole process of editing, how to post it, and how. And others are just like boom, boom, boom. They want to do fast. They get it. You say, do this, and that's okay as well. So I adjust to whoever the person is. I don't have a system that this is the way it should be. And I'm constantly evolving. I'm constantly watching other people. So I share that as well with my clients, because it's in my interest that they do well, because I want them all to be successful podcasters. And something that I do, and I mean, it's something that you can do as well with your group. Like, we're not competing. Sometimes people think, oh, me against them. And I've never been like that. People would ask me a question, other podcasters, how to do this. There was people writing books, they'd reach out to me. I've been on a few shows where they're, having advice on how to be, a podcaster. And I always share information. I never kind of hide it, because I think the more that you do that, you're giving value, and which in turn people appreciate that. And you might get clients just from doing that anyway. And even if you don't, by teaching, you're actually becoming better yourself.
Wonderful, sir. Okay, so meditation is a widely appreciated topic. How do you approach this subject in your podcast, and what benefit do you believe meditation offer to your listeners?
So for me, I was I was late. I didn't start meditating early, and I didn't really know much about it. So when I did learn, I I've realized one, it stops you worrying about things, it stops you thinking about things. So I would like a gratitude. What are you grateful for? Just thinking of all the different things I'm grateful. Whether you're out in the sun just watching the butterflies or something like that, you're thinking of what you're grateful for. The other one is the act of forgiveness. Because if something has happened to us in our life, we kind of tend to hold it in and we're thinking about it, and that's hurting us. And once you start learning how to forgive and realizing that if somebody did hurt you, do we know their journey? So whether it was a parent or a teacher or whatever, do we know were they hurt? And just to have compassion and forgive people, and that kind of form of meditation, I think helps everybody. And with that podcast, then, so what I've done is I interview people and I try to talk about their journey, how they started meditating, the types of meditation. Some people went to like retreat. Some people went to India for 10 years. Some people did it like 10-day dark meditation, fasting meditation. They've done all different things. So I get them to tell me their story and I'm learning from that. I say, oh, that's interesting. But they also give me different types of meditation. So it's like you might like a certain person's style and then they give me different meditations. So when I have it, after that there could be one or maybe even five different types of meditation and all different stuff, and the breath work as well, because I don't think people realize how powerful the breath is, because we don't breathe really. And once you start breathing properly, you start thinking properly, things slow down, because most people, they're chasing their tail, they're running around, they think they can't do enough, and when they relax, you get more time, which in turn stops you being stressed.
Wonderful, sir. Amazing. Okay, so Learn Polish is a unique addition to your portfolio. What inspired you to create a podcast focused on language learning, and what's your approach to teaching this language? This language.
So I in Ireland we learn Irish, and I did Irish. We start school at 4, so I did Irish from 4 to 17 because I went to college at 17, and I can't remember any of my Irish because all they did is they made us pray. We had to do pray. I remember the prayers, but if you ask me what do the words in between mean, I don't know. Then I did French for 3 years. Can I remember it? No. So when I came to Poland, I knew I needed to learn the language, and I was listening to this CD programs called Rosetta Stone. It's an international thing. It's okay. And there's things like Duolingo and Pimsner and a lot of stuff. So I was doing that. Then I get lessons. And at one stage, I was getting lessons after work and I was falling asleep. So the girl, the teacher, actually gave me tennis balls and she made me juggle the tennis balls to keep my mind active. And I would progress a little bit. Then I went to a class and I took a few years. And as I said earlier, like I thought then, okay, let's do the podcast, listen to a podcast. It wasn't there, so I created it. And I'm just constantly conscious of my listeners. It's like, what would they like to learn? And I'd say to people, look, let me know. Sometimes people would write, I'd love to learn about this, and we do that. We do a bit of grammar, but not always. You know, sometimes you need the tenses and things like that. Like we done one, um, it'll be out tomorrow. It's just about my name. So my name in Ireland is Roy, and nothing but Roy. But in Poland, it's Roya, Ryu, Ryovi, Royem. And we explain how we use that. So people will be in a Polish setting and they'll hear that. And we explain what's the reason behind that. And then we do all topics. We do dentistry. We try to think of hairdressing. We think of different jobs and just going into the shop. We talk about food. We talk about animals, and we're just there to serve. And I mean, if it's St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day, we might talk about our Mother's Day. We might talk about them topics, and we might do it again next year. But it's always a different conversation. And I tend to always, even like I say the word in Polish as well, but I'll also say it in English because I'm conscious there's different levels of people coming in. I don't want to coming in and we're after progressing to a certain stage and they don't know what we're saying. And I so by me just saying the English as well, I mean we might have a bit of a sentence, but I think they'll get the, oh, that's what that word means. And if they listen a few times and even go back to the start, we've like 385 lessons released now at the moment. We've like over 2 million downloads and views on YouTube. Like it's massive. It's like if I look there now today, it's in the charts in over 20 countries. You know, it's been in number one in probably 30 or 40. And it's all about helping people, because there's a load of, what happens as well is, it's not just foreigners that come to Poland. There's a load of Polish. They moved abroad. They went to Germany working. They went to England, Ireland, Norway, America, and then they'd have partners. So they start getting into relationships, or they might get married, and then they'd learn. Or it could be two Polish people, and they'd move to, say, America, and their children would grow up just learning English, but they'd want to then come back and meet the grandparents or something like that, and they'd need to learn the language. And it's a great way for them to learn, and not in a kind of classroom situation, or that it's 30 minutes or an hour. It's just 5 to 10 minutes in a fun way. And I think by doing that, you don't feel tired, because I think sometimes when we're learning language, that's the way I always find this French or something like that. An hour, you felt your energy was being sucked out, and if that's happening, that means you're bored. Whereas 5 10 minutes, you're okay, and then you can listen again, and then maybe, I think if you do 15 minutes a day, every day, it's way better than doing 1 or 2 hours in one setting.
Wonderful, sir. That's really awesome. Okay, sir. So my last question is, can you provide a glimpse into your future podcasting plan? Any exciting project or themselves we can expect from you in the coming years?
So I love your questions. You've got very good questions. Well done. I obviously am a podcasting coach, but I created a course. So what I have is, like, I have like a webinar it's like 30 minutes that's free, because I know not everybody has money to spend. So I'm always, no matter what I do in life, same with all the speaking podcasts and everything, it's serving people. Doesn't matter if their budgets, if their passion is there and their heart is there, they can do it. So the same with the podcasting. The course then goes into way more detail. Then I do coaching one-on-one. I have clients where I'm helping clients get on shows. So I've got a few clients and they want to be on a specific thing, so I get them on other podcasts, but I also coach them how to be a good guest, because sometimes people think that they just turn up, but they don't do the research, or they don't know how to promote themselves properly. So I tell them how to do that as well. And I'm writing a few books. I've done that. I've created a podcast planner, so that it's like a simple thing, but it's just kind of how I do it, and it tells, it's just kind of showing the different points, but it's like the timestamps and everything, like what you discussed, how to prepare. And even in the course, I tell people how to prepare for the guests coming on. Like, you did a lot of preparation. You made some lovely questions, but not everybody does that. I've been on shows that are very popular in Europe or America with massive audiences, and I go on the show, and the guy said to me, "What did we say we would talk about?" So it's like, when you're professional, like you were today, had lovely questions, then you get a better interview, which in turn helps everybody. So my plan is creating another book as well on podcasting. I've a book nearly finished on that. I have a lot of other books as well on courses, but it's mainly, I love when I'm helping people start a podcast, and then they're touching maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions. And like what you should do, I was telling the last person I was interviewed with, because you're already after doing this, you're interviewing people. You can go on to Anchor, which is Spotify, it's free, create a podcast and put up every episode of all the different people that you interview. And it's just another form of marketing. And if everybody that's doing that, because then you get followers, people that like your style, and they get more and more. And if you're doing Fiverr business or whatever, I mean, I know you're young, but if you're doing something, eventually, and just your numbers will grow.
Amazing, wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for giving me your precious time, valuable. I hope everybody learned something new with your experience, with your talk, with your speech. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much for having me on the show. Thank you.